Hey guys, quick reminder to go and sign up at my Patreon. The age of online content coming to you for free is coming to an end. Nothing is truly free, and we have discovered the hard way that the price that we've paid is ceding too much control to middlemen like YouTube and advertiser guidelines. I'm convinced that the only way to break this cycle and create a truly independent media is direct support from our audience. That means small donations every month from lots of people. So be a part of this information revolution. Sign up at my Patreon page today and start supporting the channel. All right, the topic of today's video was inspired by one of my patrons who wrote to me very distressed because he'd been reading some posts in online forums and communities on topics about gender dynamics and dating, but from a very progressive, sort of feminist perspective. They were very different from the more traditional or biology-based views that I present on this channel. What he wanted to know was, should he stop reading this information, these ideas that were so different from his pre-existing beliefs, because reading them was causing him a lot of self-doubt and anxiety. I wrote back to him and I said, absolutely not. If anything, you should be reading more opinions that you don't agree with. This guy was very sincere in his question, so I'm not talking about him, but generally this phenomenon of safe spaces and this idea that you should never have your point of view criticized or challenged is completely ridiculous. In the right circumstances, being criticized is the best thing that could possibly happen to you. I've got a treat for you guys. I've got a sneak peek of an upcoming video on a topic that I've wanted to do for a long time. It's interviewing women about makeup. One question that I made sure to include was whether or not it was okay for men to criticize women about their use of makeup.
So do you think it's sexist or misogynistic for men to have vocal opinions about women wearing makeup?
No. Everyone's entitled to their opinion.
I don't think it's up to a guy to tell a girl that she should or should not wear makeup, but obviously everyone's allowed to have opinions like, oh man, you know, her eyeshadow's a little dark.
It's not anyone's place to be like, hey, I don't like the way you do your makeup. Like, even I as a girl couldn't like say that to someone.
So you wouldn't say it's necessarily like a gender or like sexist thing?
No.
It's just more of a...
Rude.
But rather than just like, you can't wear makeup because otherwise if you wear makeup, you're not a feminist.
That's all I'm going to show for now. It's going to be a great video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so that you can be notified when the full version comes out. So what you can see is that people have mixed feelings about being criticized. And what was especially fascinating to me was the really strong reaction that the girl at the end had. She did not like being told that if she was a feminist, then she shouldn't be wearing makeup. Now, I think that the reason that she had such an angry reaction is that the person who was criticizing her was probably some self-righteous feminist who just wanted to put down other women and was trying to hide behind the virtuous guise of feminism as a sort of smokescreen so that she could be angry and controlling and criticize her. I understand that. I would be frustrated too. And the whole thing reminds me of that controversy that Emma Watson went through when she did like a topless or a braless shoot for Vanity Fair. All of these feminists went to town on her, accusing her of being a gender traitor and all that stuff. And I thought her response was fantastic. Feminism is about giving women choice. Feminism is not a stick with which to beat other women with. It's about freedom. It's about liberation. It's about equality. I really don't know what my tits have to do with it. That's such a funny response. I love that. But even though I agree that you should ignore people who are just looking to beat you down under the guise of whatever virtue signaling fad is in vogue at the moment, because they're genuinely bad faith actors, I don't think that that necessarily means that the criticisms themselves should be ignored. I think that sometimes they're worthy of more investigation and exploration. For instance, I think it is a fascinating question to pose. Can you be against the objectification of women while at the same time profiting off a photo shoot that is intentionally sexual? Can you be a feminist and be against the objectification of women if you wear lots of makeup and intentionally draw focus from people towards your appearance? I don't want to get bogged down in the specifics of that particular argument because it's extremely complex, but my larger point is that exploring the validity of these criticisms is a really good idea. By listening to criticisms and ideas that are different to your own, only good can come from that. One of two things is going to happen. You're going to listen to the criticism, the different idea, and it's going to convince you. You're going to go, wow, I haven't thought of that before. And based on that new perspective, that new evidence, I'm going to change my belief to this new one. And thank God I listened to you, because otherwise I'd still be believing that old belief and I'd be foolish. The other thing that could happen is that you hear it and it doesn't convince you. You know, you do some self-reflection and some investigation and you ultimately find the criticism to be invalid. But in the process of considering it, you checked back on all your old beliefs to see if they were still valid. And when you ultimately discovered that they were, you see that they now sit on a much more solid foundation. There really is no downside. It reminds me of the conversation that Ben Shapiro, who's on the right side of politics, had with Sam Harris, who's on the left side of politics. And they were agreeing that whenever they exposed themselves to ideas, they wanted to expose themselves to the best possible version of the argument against whatever they believe. They wanted to test their beliefs against the best possible counter arguments, because that's the best way to see if your own beliefs are valid. So you see, shielding yourself from criticism is a terrible way to live. You're never going to expose yourself to any ideas that challenge you, and you're never going to grow. The best way for you to live is to be constantly exposing yourself to contrasting points of view. For example, if you think that monogamy is the best way for human beings to live and that that's going to suit you the best, you shouldn't just spend time with other monogamous people. You should be talking to people who are swingers, who are living a polyamorous or a polygamous lifestyle. You should be watching documentaries about people trying out new ways of having relationships, all towards the greater purpose of testing yourself and testing your ideas and making sure, do you really believe this? Is this really sitting on a strong foundation? Of course, the flip side to that is that if you believe in polyamory and you think that your best life choice is to have lots of one-night stands, things like that, then you should be spending time with Christian fundamentalists, people who have practiced monogamy and only been with one person their entire life, to see if there's something that they know that you don't know. Maybe there's something that you're missing. You should test yourself. I promise you that when you leave the echo chamber, when you leave your safe space and expose yourself to contrasting ideas, you will grow as a person. You will become more wise. I guarantee it. This is why I get so excited when I read comments in the comment section from people who say, I don't agree with everything that you say, Alex. You and I have very different ideas, but I still like listening to your point of view. To me, that is the epitome of the healthiest way to approach life. How dull would the world be if you only listened to people who told you things that you already agreed with? I bet a lot of the stuff that you listen to on this channel that you agree with me now, at some point in your life, you probably didn't agree with that. You were there thinking that women were perfect angels and that men had all this male privilege and that dating was easy for men. And yet you exposed yourself to these ideas. You listened to me and it was challenging for you, but aren't you ultimately wiser because of it? Now, where this idea of criticizing people gets really, really interesting is in the private consultations that I've been doing with people. Now, often people have some pretty rough stuff going on in their life. They've been through some pretty intense trauma, and so I have to be quite gentle. But every now and then, I'll do a one-on-one with somebody, and what they're explicitly looking for is for them to tell me all about their life, all about their beliefs, all about their choices, and they want me to challenge them on it. They want constructive, critical feedback. And honestly, if you're paying for my time, I believe that that is the best possible use of your money. That's how we can best use that time, is for you to say, Alex, I want you to criticize me. I will be so grateful if you just tell me everything that I'm doing wrong. Now remember, this only works if you're speaking to somebody who has your best interests at heart. If you're talking to a low quality person, then their criticisms are just petty power displays born from their own insecurity. As a general rule, don't listen to the opinions of anybody unless you're certain that they have your best interests at heart. Because what most people are doing when they're criticizing or giving advice is they're actually manipulating you into doing what's best for them, not what's best for you. But if you're confident that somebody does care about you and they do want what's best for you, listen to their criticisms. There's going to be wisdom in it. Personally, I want what's best for men. I don't like human suffering and I want to do whatever I can to reduce it. That's why I run this channel. That's what motivates me. I want men to find happiness in a healthy and happy relationship with a high quality woman. So if you tell me about your life and are emotionally strong enough to listen to my criticisms, only good can come from that. Either you will agree with me and you'll become wiser and you'll begin to make changes in your life that are going to benefit you, or ultimately you will reject my criticisms. But in so doing, you will have reflected upon your own beliefs and your own choices and tested them against a well thought out point of view that was different to what you currently have. In the process of checking if anything that I'm saying is true or has validity, you will have challenged all of your beliefs so that if you hold onto them, it will be on a much stronger foundation than before. So the ultimate lesson is this. Expose yourself to different ideas, break the echo chamber, and find points of view that are different to your own. If you have somebody in your life who you know loves you and cares about you and wants the best for you, let that person criticize you. Let them give constructive, critical feedback about your life and your choices. If you do that, no matter where you end up, either adopting their point of view or rejecting it, you will be stronger because of it and a better and wiser person. That's it for today. Remember, go and sign up at my Patreon. Let's break the cycle and start to support independent media. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.